welcome to the Lighten Up Podcast with Lauren Polly, your invitation for living on the lighter side of life. I'm Lauren Polly, and I am delighted you've chosen to join me today for episode 173. Are you successful or fulfilled? I love this topic. I find so many people, myself included, getting a little bit twisted around it. We tend to chase success big time in our culture, thinking that the only things that really matter in life are the things that can be measured by our own standards of what is successful and what isn't. Also, a lot of times measured in other people's standards and in other people's eyes of if you are fulfilling and being successful to what they think you are capable of or what you need to do or be for them. We get so kind of convoluted around that or so stuck on that, that sometimes we lose sight of the bigger picture of actually being fulfilled as you move about your life journey. Success for me are kind of those fun moments where you do kind of hit a milestone or you have a big win in your life. I love them. This isn't an either or conversation. You can totally be successful and have fulfillment at the same time. Again, those successful moments where there are kind of those big outward wins where you are getting the acknowledgement from other people. Perhaps you're acknowledging yourself for actually hitting a milestone or achieving a target that you set for yourself. Those are a little bit easier sometimes to grasp because they are a bit more external. They are something that we put attention on or intention on and go after. The conversation around fulfillment, I think, is so much more nuanced and such a softness in our space that sometimes we actually don't acknowledge that. We don't have gratitude for those moments, and we miss out on all the growth that occurs for ourselves in that area. I have a big birthday coming up this week. I'm actually turning 40, and I think every time we kind of hit a big milestone like that, we get a bit more retroflective. I did the same thing when I turned 30 as well, kind of taking stock of the past decade and looking ahead to see what I want to create next. I think another time that we do this a lot is around the New Year's, right, where we kind of look at what we have done in the past year and where we want to go. Some of you all may be in the practice of actually doing that on a daily or a weekly basis, which is awesome, as long as you're doing it without judging where you are. I think that's the big caveat. But being able to actually take a look for yourself, and as we chat, take a look over your past year. Let's just play with that. What have the big successes been for you? And just pay attention to the first thing that pops. Now, for me, this morning when I was looking at this and kind of retroflecting back over the past 10 years, I was kind of like going through like 30 and 31, 32, all the different years and what I had created and what I had achieved. And it was so interesting because what popped to the top of the list and what came out immediately was the achievements. They were the success factors. They were the things that me meeting targets or me measuring up in some sort of preconceived successful way in other people's eyes were the first things that kind of popped to, oh, look what I did. That's wonderful. Again, not to discount those things, but I just found it fascinating that the first things that popped when I looked past over the past 10 years were the things that were success makers in other people's eyes and in my eyes in an outward way. It wasn't until I actually took a little bit of space and allowed myself to soften and allow my perspective to broaden that I started to look at, okay, cool, what's actually underneath all those things? It's amazing to look at me writing my first book, winning multiple book awards, getting a promotion at the hospital where I'm managing the department currently, starting my own business. I never thought that was a possibility. All of these different things, moving multiple times, traveling internationally. I never thought I could do that either, and I've been to like 12 countries in the past 10 years. All of these things, outward, 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 cool, I was listing them pretty easy. It wasn't until I went, okay, cool, that's a success thing. What's actually underneath it, or what more is here, allowing myself to deepen, to soften, and to broaden. And with that, this whole conversation, this whole spaciousness of fulfillment actually started to reveal itself. To me, this is such a huge conversation because yes, those things are outward and they're fun and they're delicious and I'd love more of them, absolutely. But beneath all of that, what was actually created in the quote unquote background, in the undercurrent? Well, for me, traveling internationally was never something that I felt safe to do. I was raised that that should be something that a woman should do with a man, aka get married. And you can kind of have someone to travel the world with. I didn't really realize that was a possibility till I met a bunch of women who were out traveling by themselves and went, oh, wow, if they can do it, so can I. That was an outward success thing, right? Outward target that I had. Underneath all of that, broader and softer than that, though, there's a trust in myself that I was able to do it. There's a self reliance, there's a self sufficiency that came with it. There's a self exploration to actually chart my own course and go out on my own that came from that as well. There's a fulfilling quality in actually allowing those characteristics in me, those bandwidth of energies to actually populate and to grow and to grow and to grow. Same thing with my book, like looking on the outside of the success of writing my first book, winning multiple book awards, having a bestseller, really having those beautiful acknowledgments from people who are reading it and seeing change in their own lives. Absolutely, yes, I'd like more and deeper, broader, and softer than that. What did it give me? Well, it gave me a trust in myself again to actually speak to what I know. It allowed me to trust my awareness. It allowed me to be seen and be heard. It allowed me to actually have my unique expression in the world and create a change and a possibility that really and truly I'm the only one who knows. I believe we all have unique gifts for the world, and until we're really willing and able to have this fulfilling bandwidth in our own space and allow these outward successes to come probably after we've created that and actually foster it a bit more, can we actually allow that uniqueness to be born? So for me, again, getting softer, getting deeper, it was interesting. It wasn't just these outward success markers. They were almost kind of like the tip of the iceberg, the big thing sticking out of the water that you go, oh, wow, look at that. That's really cool. But when you allow yourself and your perception, your awareness to go deeper, your awareness to broaden, and you have to get a little soft and relaxed sometimes to sense this stuff because it is a bit more nuanced and energetic. What is really beneath the surface of what you've created? And is that where true fulfillment lies? Again, it's not that you have one or the other. You know, you don't ever just have the tip of the iceberg. There's this whole body and breath with it. But so often we only look at the tip as like, that's the pinnacle. That's the one thing that matters. And we lose out on the acknowledgement and the gratitude for everything else. Again, look at your past year. What are the tips of the icebergs? What are the successes that you've had? That's amazing. Allow yourself to kind of bask in that. Congratulate yourself for it. Ask for more. And now actually allow yourself to soften. Let your perspective broaden. Sink down and go deeper beneath the tip of the iceberg and actually look at the whole breadth of it. What has been fulfilling to you as a being about that experience? If it wasn't just about the external, but was way more about the internal, way more about what it gave you and actually added to your life experience. What could you acknowledge? What could you be grateful for? And what could you now ask to grow in your life? You know, so often what we do is we hop from iceberg tip to iceberg tip to iceberg tip. I notice myself doing this constantly, like where's the next big win kind of thing as we hop about our life. We don't ever really sink deeper and actually look at the breadth of it. The trick with this is if you're willing to actually see the breadth of it, what lies beneath the surface, you're able to get a bit more aware of what is actually true for you. What are the elements that actually made that iceberg so delicious to you in the first place? If you actually start asking for things from that space, guess what occurs? Unexpected delights. Unanticipated delights because they don't have to match a certain iceberg that you've seen other people create. All they have to do is grow that fulfilling quality, grow those energies that are beneath the surface that actually have you fulfilled as a person. And I know this can sound a bit airy fairy, especially if you're a little bit newer to this energy conversation, but look at it this way. At the end of the day, when you go to bed at night, when you look back even just over your day, what are the things that give you a sense of peace, give you a sense of ease? Give you a sense of interest, like, ooh, this is really interesting. I'd like to dive in deeper. Give you a sense of, you know what, I actually utilized myself, my skill sets, my body, my awareness today, and I created something super cool. If you allow yourself that moment to really look at the tip of the iceberg with that, and then just take a little bit to sink a little deeper, go a little bit broader, soften and relax into it, what's underneath all that? What was truly created for you as a being moving through the world? You know, life is not about just the pinnacles that we reach. It's actually the whole entire journey and your life experience actually being able to be rich and textured and layered and deep and broad and soft. All of that really comes from the fulfillment conversation, with the successes actually adding in these markers as we go, but without you actually looking at the fulfillment, at that deeper, bigger, broader picture, it's going to be hard to actually create what it is you truly know is possible in your life. I know that is my ask here, looking over the past decade from 30 to 40 in my beautiful, delicious life that I am so lucky and delighted to lead. I'm kind of curious what 40 to 50 will bring me in the next decade. But it's kind of a fascinating thing to actually start looking at what is deeper, what is broader for you. And if you actually allow yourself to ask for that, instead of asking for the pie in the sky or the outward successes that only other people can see to validate for you, what if you could actually validate for yourself and acknowledge for yourself that deeper space that actually makes your life worth living in your eyes, even if no one else sees it? Again, it's not an either or conversation. Success and fulfillment go hand in hand. But take your eyes off the success makers just for a second to be able to dive in deeper to the fulfillment makers in your life. I wonder what will actually shift and change for you in that case. I hope you enjoyed this episode and the delicious energy that is here. Reach out to me and let me know what it pops for you in your awareness. You can always get a hold of me at laurenpolly.com, and my online community for mental wellness and life creation, the Lighten Up community that's going to have extended and exclusive content from this podcast, is launching soon. It's going to be launching on the anniversary of my publishing date for my book. My 3-year anniversary is coming up on October 3rd. So that's the day we're going to be kicking off into the next frontier with that. You can sign up for more information on my website at laurenpolly.com, and just stay tuned to this podcast because I'll be letting you know when it launches. Have an amazing, amazing week. And as always, I will chat with you next Tuesday.